bullshit. I can't believe that. Hmm?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you disappeared on me.
Yes, because you dropped that F-bomb right as I hit the start. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we were live. This is amazing.
Yeah, I hit the live thing, and yeah. So
this is a little bit of pop culture cosmos cosmic crossfire pre-roll for all you YouTube watchers.
Exactly. Well, but we're actually live on the air as we speak. So
I see that. You just like ousted me. I got like the big giant hook, the vaudevillian hook right there.
Yeah, something like that. I hope that part of it doesn't go. But that's funny. So, all right. You've ended the toolbox. I was like, okay. And we're back with another edition of the Cosmic Crossfire. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly want to thank you for being part of the broadcast here today. Well, it wouldn't be a Cosmic Crossfire without my good friend. He is the man, the myth, the legend behind RobMcCallumFilms.com. You got to check out all of his great projects today on RobMcCallumFilms.com. Plus, also as well, backed or busted crowdfunding. Everything as far as going on with the crowdfunding world, you got to check out today on Backed or Busted Crowdfunding. He examines what he likes and what he doesn't like in the crowdfunding scene. It's Rob McCallum. What's going on, my friend?
Well, I love how you sort of said, but maybe nobody picked it up, that you said the Cosmic Crossfire. I think that could be like the alternate, like the Prime universe kind of deal, like the Flip universe, the Mirrorverse.
There you go. But it is
Crossfire.
It is the Cosmic Crossfire. Well, I've said a lot this morning, so it is the Cosmic Crossfire.
You said a lot this morning. So, like, what, you have like a word count of how many things you can say before an inevitable mistake happens?
I must have. But
that's okay. I get it. I will grant you mistakes for X number of words said. I have them myself.
Well, there you go, indeed.
And Rob, what's up is we've been back and forth already. We've already done one segment on Kickstarter questions and crowdfunding for Backed or Busted, and a little bit of an info session from people that sent me questions in. And now we're jumping right back in the crossfire seat, the hot seat.
Yes, and I love it. As far as the Cosmic Crossfire is concerned, we just truly talk about the best of pop culture. So pray tell, Rob, when it comes to pop culture, what's on your mind when it comes to pop culture?
Well, I'm going to talk about Star Trek fan films. And of course, the one that comes to everybody's mind is Axanar, of course. And I feel a little sheepish because I was reading an article and I got cut off halfway through it and I can't find it again. But it's out there. I don't know if it's on comingsoon.net or Hollywood Reporter or Variety. But it was talking about the role of this fan film culture. And I forget his name. I want to say his last name is Doctoro, but it could be wrong. So I feel like there's no real information that I'm communicating right now. But he said something of the lines of, "It's our duty to make use of materials created in order to make new things going forward." So what he's saying is, Star Wars might not have happened if it wasn't for things like Flash Gordon serials and other kind of sci-fi stuff that led to Star Wars, which is taking huge direct examples from that property alone, let alone things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, hearkening back to other stuff. So,
but also George Lucas took stuff from Westerns and also as well from Japanese films as well.
Yeah, very much so. Seven Samurai, for example, a lot of Akira Kurosawa stuff. So what this individual is saying, it's our duty to allow filmmakers and artists to repurpose material in order to create something new, to keep it going, in order to continue the art conversation. And as a documentary filmmaker who does a lot of stuff on existing brands, I think it's important to make commentary on stuff that is out there, and by referencing said art or said examples, I think it's essential. Fan films are, I think, a little bit of a different kind of corner in universe because you're trying to use what is established to tell your own version of the story and put your own kind of content or fiction as part of the mega picture that's out there for that spectrum of material and content to digest. But I still think it kind of falls into this. You want to take something that exists, you want to extend it and do your own thing with it. I think there is no better example of fandom. And what this individual said in the article, it really made me think, because this is the first time since everything went down with Axanar and, of course, Justin Lin and J.J. Abrams trying to do the olive branch when the third Star Trek film came out just before, like, no, the lawsuit is cool. You can do fan films. And then people read the guidelines and it was like, you really can't do fan films or anything that really makes sense because it's almost impossible according to these guidelines. He mentions one line. He basically says, Paramount squashing fan films is incredibly detrimental because it kills the love that people have for the franchise. And it kills the most passionate fans and that core audience in a way that is unforgivable and irreplaceable and, unerasable. When you essentially start to attack your core fan base, and we're talking about Star Trek, this is a franchise that has been canceled a few times now and brought back in varying forms with varying different degrees, as we're starting to see with Discovery and in the film side of things. Whether that happens to continue and go on or not, we don't know.
And it's still all over the place with Tarantino possibly penning a new Star Trek, which would be an R-rated version, or also as well, do they go back to the tried and true PG-13 style that they've done with the reboots, which you and I both have talked about in the past, that I've actually had a great fun, and actually is what brought me back as a Star Trek fan originally, was the reboots of Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness.
So given all of that context and all of that discussion, why would Paramount even take the chance to anger these passionate fans that want to make these things and put them out there and elevate the discussion, add to the discussion, and showcase their skills and their prowess? It feels like a massive ego trip the more that I think about it. It's like, I get that there's copyright infringement, and that is totally fair. Paramount owns the Star Trek franchise, the rights, and all that stuff. But there has to be a better way to include the franchise fans so that the franchise can continue to grow. And we're going to talk about something next that will tie into that. But without the fans, there is no franchise. It's that simple. And so if you can't make your films or your TV shows because your fans aren't going to it, because you've angered the fans, because you're not allowing them to live and breathe with the content, then who's really to blame here? Who's the one that really decided to pull the plug on all this stuff? And this gets a little dicey because, I think of another group of fans, and that's the Star Wars fans, who are very possessive and claim ownership over the material. They own the trilogy. They own the original trilogy and not the prequels and maybe not the new one. But they've marked their territories down and then they have claimed ownership no matter what. And it's vicious. And you see the backlash from Last Jedi. You see the concerns from the Han Solo movie coming out. What would happen if Disney started canceling a bunch of Star Wars projects? What would happen to that backlash when you start pushing the fan base away when you need them so much? I just think it was kind of food for thought. What do you think about that idea that if Paramount canceling fan films, it's actually what they're doing is canceling the franchise?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head with the copyright infringement. And with these corporations and these big movie companies, that's the first thing they see first and foremost. And they're trying to protect their own image, and they want to be able to go ahead and control it as they see fit. So sometimes they are prone to making rash judgments and right off the bat without thinking clearly through the situation and embracing the fandom that they're trying to represent when they make these fan films. So like I said, it was just a rash, irrational decision that was made. And before Paramount said, you know what, maybe we should think this thing through and maybe we should try and embrace these projects without going too overboard and going too much into as far as being able to go ahead and spill over into copyright infringement. But you can find a balance in between. You can make it acceptable, and you can make it receptive for fans to go ahead and create these projects, because like you said, it just increases the love for the actual pop culture product, whatever that is, Star Wars, Star Trek, or what have you. and it was just a reactionary decision that Paramount made, which obviously was either financially or copyright motivated. And I think that's, like I said, once they had a chance to take a deep breath and step back and think things through, they were trying to go ahead and cut their losses and try and see if they can embrace these actual policies, and that they, let's change them a little bit so that they can accommodate these fan projects. But it may have been too little too late. Like I said, the Star Trek right now is really on a very tenuous path right now with something that the last film did not do so well. Let's put that out there. It did not do as well as the first two, and even though it was critically hailed, I personally didn't enjoy it very much. I thought it was the weakest of the three, and I think they're at a point now where they need all the good PR that they can get to try and keep that momentum going that they once had with those first two movies.
I couldn't agree more. And one thing that I would offer as a suggestion or a solution is to let Paramount bring the filmmakers into a fold. There's a couple ways of doing this, and I think you can kind of merge them together. One is make it an annual contest. Make an annual fan film Trek contest. Make it part of the ecosystem so that you get to see these fan films. And CBS has an all-access streaming app now, a digital service. Why not put the best fan films on that? They
have a convention here in Las Vegas every year. It's the largest Star Trek convention of
They could do fan film awards there. You could pay the filmmakers in a 70-30, 60-40, even 50-50 split from the minutes watched on the CBS streaming app, for example, or some other website kind of way where, okay, they're spending money, so they should get, a part of it, but it's based on their IP, so they should be a part of it. It's kind of like a distribution deal. But why not every year do the best fan films, and then you can have films like Axanar really make headlines. And then if Paramount's really smart, they can package these films every year as a Blu-ray, and here are the best Blu-ray versions of the movies for 2016, 2017, 2018, and so on. That would be really cool as a Trek fan.
Or bonus material for, let's say, whatever upcoming Star Trek film you've gotten.
That could be like the grand prize. Star Trek 4 comes out. It's Tarantino's thing. One of the bonus features is the best picture for Trek fan films. I think that would be great. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. It's a way of including the fan base without stopping them still having kind of control or a foot in the arena, but including everybody instead of pushing people away in killing that thing that is allowing you to exist in the first place.
This is true. This is true indeed.
And one company that actually did this, and this is a perfect segue, Rob McCallum, is the Jim Henson Company. They did a Dark Crystal fan film contest, and you can search that out on YouTube still and see the top 10 Dark Crystal fan films. And they allowed basically puppeteers and production designers to do their own version. They allowed the IP to go out in exchange for signing up for the contest. And then they got basically exposure on YouTube through the Jim Henson channel, which is a pretty cool thing to do, if you ask me.
I think it is indeed. And obviously it embraces embraces the spirit and love for that actual pop culture product. And it allows more fans to get involved with, loving what they love so much. And I just would like to see at some point Paramount go ahead and say, yeah, we made a mistake, and do a total 180 and go ahead and truly embrace these fan films for what they are. And basically, like you said, streaming options, convention options, and things of that nature that can really boost what is considered by many to be a property right now that's really in a tenuous nature.
I agree. And like I said, switching gears to the Jim Henson Company, you've been asking me for the last few weeks, Rob, we should talk about the Muppets. We should do kind of an in-depth thing about what's going on with the Muppets. Well, I've been looking forward to this documentary that comes out on March 16th called Muppet Guys Talking. It's directed by Frank Oz. They just released a new trailer on MuppetGuysTalking.com. I think Yahoo had the exclusive first kind of unveiling of it. It's just a nice, almost dinner for five like conversation between five of the original Muppet performers talking about what it was like working back in the day and under the leadership of Jim Henson. I'm really excited for this documentary. You can only get it at MuppetGuysTalking.com. And it got me thinking about Muppet Guys not working right now and what is not going on with the Muppets. I don't know what's going on with the Muppets, and that's kind of where the thing kind of ends. There's a new Muppet Babies cartoon coming out this summer, I believe. That seems to be the most Muppet property on the highlight. What are your thoughts on the Muppets, and was there anything specifically that you wanted to talk about? Because this is a franchise that has withered away a bit and died and been less and less of what it originally was. And there's been a lot of corporations involved in it. And I don't know if that's the reason. And once you start peeling back the layers of the onion, you realize that there's not much there, and it's still just an onion and not something more special. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I wanted to hear what your take was coming at me, since you've been kind of asking me for the last few weeks.
Well, this leads into what we were talking about as far as the theme park is concerned. And I made the comment that the Muppets keep getting pushed back farther and farther and into the corners and into the darker realms of the actual Disney World and Disneylands of that are out there. And I just think it shows that it is not a high priority within the Disney realm. They have this property. They make X amount from it, but it's not as much as they wanted to make. And it's not obviously at the level right now that, let's say, a Marvel is or Star Wars is, that are the hottest properties. But when you also have A Wrinkle in Time, Christopher Robin, you've got live action Lion King, you've got Mary Poppins, you've got so many of these properties. And you and I know you probably saw on Twitter the list of all the recent changes within the unannounced or upcoming Disney slate of movies for the next 2-3 years. It's just insane. And it just seems to me with each and every of these other properties that are out there that there is something, there's something like the Muppets that's going to fall by the wayside. And at this point in time, it's not a priority at Disney. And that's a shame, because it is a solid property that reaches out to the youngest audience and helps them start embracing the Disney concept and therein. And they're just missing the boat, in my opinion. I think they gave up on the TV series a little bit too quickly, the revival of it. I think, like you said, they could have put that on a streaming platform and really found success with it, as opposed to try and force feed it on ABC. I don't think it's the type of show that you can actually go ahead and put in prime time anymore. But if it's on can't be on PBS for obvious reasons, but it can be a Muppet show, could be on a Netflix, a Hulu. You bought Hulu, it's there, or a Disney streaming service. There's something where it can be revived and revised strongly and could be a backbone of that new streaming service.
Well, there's definitely rumors that there may be a new Muppet presence on the Disney streaming service. But I want you to think about this, and this was kind of the lead into the topic, right? Muppet Guys Talking releases March 16th. It's directed by Frank Oz. It features 5 of the original Muppet performers coming together to talk about what it was like to work with Jim Henson and during the Muppets and Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and SNL and all that. This conversation hasn't happened yet. This is like the first time these guys have sat down. It's been almost 30 years since Jim Henson's death. Now, these guys, in my opinion, kind of hold the secret and get what makes the Muppets work. When I watched the trailer and the conversations and the snippets that they've been releasing online, I don't feel like I'm watching Frank Oz or Bill Beretta or Jerry Nelson or Fran Brill. I feel like I'm actually like watching different Muppet characters talk, because I see all the personalities and the quirks, and I see the chemistry that was developed for 20 years, and I see those characters coming out of who they are, which means that it's more than just a brand, it's more than just a puppet, and it's more than just a structure to allow those puppets and brands to exist. And I think once Jim Henson died, everything that he had done kind of up until that point kind of died with him. They had Muppet Christmas Carol, which was fairly successful. They had Muppet Treasure Island, which was successful to a lesser degree. But those were like, here's the Muppets. We should do something with them. Let's take them out of what everybody knows and put them in these stories that people do know, so they can have a little bit more longevity. Then they tried in 1996 to do Muppets Tonight, which I think they did at least one smart thing there, which was, let's introduce a bunch of new characters with a few of the staple characters, Kermit, Gonzo, Piggy here and there, but mainly more new characters so that we don't have to do the old characters, whether we're doing them right or wrong. We can allow something new to exist within that universe. And whether ABC or Disney really kind of got it at that point is hard to tell. But what is apparent now is that the Muppets are just characters and puppets that should be acting a certain way, and they're trying to get them to do that based on how they've seen them act before. It's what I call second generation syndrome, where you have a restaurant that gets passed on to the son from the father, and it's not successful because the son didn't work and do the sweat equity that it took to make it work and figure out what didn't work versus what did and how to do things properly. So you can't just Jurassic Park the crap out of it, where you buy it, patent it, slap a label on it, because that's what that's what you do. You know, you're so busy to think about whether you could buy it, you didn't realize if you should buy it. You know, it's the Goldblum approach, I guess you could say, and that's what I think EMTV did, which was a German company who bought it from the Hensons, I think 98 or 99, and then the Hensons bought it back, and then they sold it to Disney at a crazy profit between all those transactions. And I think people are just buying into the myth of the Muppets at this point. And like, you got it, but now what? It's like when you buy like that cool NES game that you've been hunting down and then you put it on your shelf. Now what? You play it, it's like, oh, it was a little bit more fun to find it than it is to play it. It's not quite what I remembered. How can this be fun again? And then you're like, well, I'll just go do something else. I'll go hunt down another game. So I think the problem with the Muppets now is nobody knows what to do with them because nobody understands the Muppets that has access to them right now. They've been bought by a big corporate conglomerate that has a lot of family-friendly assets, but they don't know how to deal with them because it's not just another family-friendly asset that can get plugged into the machine. It was created in a very mom-and-pop sort of way that grew to become a big corporation, but with people that were there from the beginning. And now that you've lost all those people from the beginning, you're relying on interpretation and observation to recreate that. And when you're relying on observation, you can only get close to the original. You can never be original. So I think that's the problem with the Muppets, and that's why it's going to be hard to ever see them in the limelight again.
And I will say this, that the more time it's in this hiatus, or whether it's, you know, pushed to the back or however you want to phrase it, the less effective it remains, and the less, you know, the shorter audience, the smaller audience it's going to reach out to. And these younger audiences, they're going to grow up on something else, and the Muppets won't be a part of that. And it will be very hard to reboot the Muppets, so to speak, into a higher platform if you're not reminding people just how special they are.
I agree. Moving forward, I have some sort of a weird fan topic for something that's a little obscure. There is a channel on YouTube called Movie Nights, and it features a woman who is into various obscure cult programs, and she routinely buys like negatives, like photo negatives off eBay from her favorite shows, just to see kind of behind the scenes stuff. You know, photographers put up their negatives. They don't care. They're just trying to make a few bucks on stuff that was shot in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. And she's a big fan of the show Quantum Leap, which I'm a fan of as well, which featured Scott Bakula basically leaping or time traveling within his own lifetime, essentially possessing other people and forcing them to make the right decisions that they didn't make the first time around in history.
Can I ask you something, though? Can you figure out why he actually, at the end of the show, must have leaped into somebody with a really bad New Orleans accent?
That's not funny, Gerald. That's not funny.
Well, it's true.
You quit picking on Bakula. Hey, Bakula and I, we're tight. We're tight. I met him. He gave me an autograph. He said we should kickstart Men of a Certain Age revival. I'm just saying.
No. He, you know, Enterprise better than NCIS New Orleans, and that accent just like it waves, it comes and goes. Just it's not good. Not good.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the ending in the final leap because the show was canceled kind of abruptly while they were editing the season 5 finale. Nobody knew if season 6 was going to happen. So you're watching all these episodes, and at the end of every episode, you see the character Sam Beckett leap into another person, and you get like usually a minute-long teaser, which would be the beginning of the next episode, where he gets leaped into this other person's body, and you get a hint at what the conflict might be. Well, for the series finale, it just cut to a title card that said, and Sam Beckett never returned home because he went into this experiment to leap to prove that it would work, not realizing that he would be trapped in time, hoping to leap and undo all the problems of history so that he could finally go home as penance for making the foolhardy mistake. So it ends with Sam Beckett never returned home. The end. Done.
Do you see a revival of that, at least to finish out that storyline, maybe with a 2-hour movie, perhaps?
Well, they talked about that in the late 90s and the early 2000s. There was a script written, and there's talks about a reboot or a continuation in the works. But Movie Nights, this YouTube channel, this woman who was buying these negatives, has got a little tidbit. And it's kind of interesting because the script for the final episode kind of gets cut off halfway, and it features his partner, Al, who's a hologram from the future who helps him kind of navigate what's going on in the past. And it basically ends with Al getting reunited with his first wife, who he screws up with, and all that. So Sam rights that wrong, and then the episode ends. Well, the original script, apparently there was another version that leaked where there's a few more scenes where Al decides to become a leaper at that point and go back and get Sam. But Donald P. Belisario could never confirm that. So we never know if it's like fan fiction or if it's just wishful thinking or if it was legit. Well, Movie Nights, this woman who's buying these negatives found negatives from the last episode that go along with this supposed fan fiction script that play out all these things that are detailed there. So she kind of has proof that there was this extended version of that last episode, and these images testify to that. So there is like the new ending to Quantum Leap that is kind of justified there. So instead of just having this artistic kind of cap off and then this abrupt title card, there was a bunch more shot, and she's got the negatives to prove it. What I think is crazy is, isn't it wacky that this is still a mystery 25 years later?
I think it is, and you know how it's not,
how this comes to light as well.
Yeah. And how nobody has really confirmed it. Even Bakula himself have not. You know, they've been very coy, obviously, about that, and how this has not come 100% to light in our days and age with all the resources we have. It's just been astounding.
It's strange, and like I said, this was a different topic to throw out there, but there's a new ending to a popular sci-fi series. It was actually one of the first series I ever got into as kind of as a viewer, so I throw it out there. And you know, for this person who's buying these negatives to find this of a series that she's a fan of, it's pretty cool. I will say that she was showing a lot of the negatives. There's this random shot of Arsenio Hall in there, and then it keeps going with more shots of this behind-the-scenes stuff. So take it for what it will. Put it in the crazy pile and call it a day. But Quantum Leap's ending has been confirmed. That it is something more than what we saw, which is interesting for fans of that series.
But still, again, it would be hard to go ahead and maybe do that because, you know, as you and I both know, when these older properties get rebooted, it's really hard for them to connect with those older series unless they're actually rebooted with a whole new cast of whatnot. Like for instance, MacGyver is concerned. That has succeeded only because of the fact that they've pretty much rebooted it from the get-go and made something totally different out of it.
There's a new app out there, Gerald. It's called HQ Trivia. It launched last August. Are you aware of this game?
Yes, I have seen some clippings in regards to it and come across it every now and then, but I have not actually used it myself.
You see, I've never heard of it. I haven't used it. So when I stumbled across an article in Variety, it was quite eye-opening to me. HQ Trivia has raised $15 million in venture capital. For those that don't know, this is a live streaming game show. It's available for everyone to play, and there's real money prize pots. They
sort of like the 1-1 versus 100 back from the old days on the Xbox Live.
Yeah, there's 2 shows every weekday. I think it's at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern, and there's one on the weekend, I think at 3 p.m. Last week had a prize pot of $50,000 that was split between 6 different players. And it got me thinking that this is really kind of the future of game shows, I think. I think there is something so inherently smart about saying, do you want to play? Here is your chance. You know, come participate. Everybody watches The Price is Right and they yell out their answers, or Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune. They're playing at home. Well, here's a chance to play the game from home. I think it's really smart, and I don't know why we haven't seen this before with all the different mobile apps and games that we get. I mean, I was thinking the very first mobile app that I bought in 2008 or 9 was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And I remember thinking, oh, it's just a bunch of stock questions until I keep buying these packs that get released every 2 or 3 months. But imagine there was a new trivia show that gets refreshed every day. And of course, for HQ Trivia, as you progress through the game, it gets harder and harder until basically they eliminate people. If you get all the questions right, I guess you're one of the winners. Again, I'm not super familiar with it, but I really like the concept. Is this the future, or am I just out to lunch?
No, this is the future, and it has to become more interactive as technology expands and becomes better. And old traditional ways of doing things will probably go to the wayside like that. And there might still be some standouts like Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. How is Wheel of Fortune not doing their own home companion app that you can watch when they go live and try to solve the puzzle?
That's probably the next step. I mean, we've seen it integrated already as far as technology is concerned within the game show structure as far as Candy Crush. I mean, where'd they get that from? That's, obviously one of the most popular apps that are out there for mobile devices. But this is definitely a step in the right direction to interact with the people at home and get them involved with something like that. Like I said, Xbox Live originally had the idea with a 1 versus 100 concept, which was done on smaller amounts. Obviously, they weren't giving away $50,000. They were giving away something very much smaller than that. But still, having that interactive room with 100 different people as far as the avatars is concerned, and not actually being in one central place at one central time as far as physically, it was truly a concept ahead of its time. And I'm just waiting for the Rob McCallum game show, because it gives him the opportunity to pull out his awesome game show voice.
Welcome to Rob McZob versus you, the game where you get to take on Rob McZob for no prizes or no fabulous money. Are you ready to play? Let's get playing.
Hey, the top prize could be a copy of Nintendo Quest.
It could be, or it could be a pile of poop.
There you go, indeed. But that's some great talk there as well. It's great. On this episode coming up, I actually even have a great things to say about everything Nintendo Quest, because it's a Nintendo Quest takeover, because later in the hour, Jay Bartlett is stopping by as well. So to talk a little bit about Overwatch leaks. So
really? And then,
yeah,
and then QTO, Nintendo Quest takeover.
There you go. Indeed.
You like how I just came up with that on the spot? You seem a little impressed.
There you go. I am impressed. I am impressed because it brings out the game show host in you, and that's a great thing indeed.
Well, it's all about stakes. 1 man, 30 days, almost 700 games. Can he do it? No online purchases.
There you go. Indeed. But if you have any questions for Rob McCallum in the Cosmic Crossfire, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at WordPress. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, PopCultureCosmos, Humanica Media, Game Source, and Rob McCallum Films on Facebook, and Rob McZob on Twitter. Rob, as always, it's been a great pleasure having you on. But before we head on out, tell me all the great things that you've got going and you've got cooking one last time from Rob McCallum Films.
All right, I'm going to try to do this because there's been a ton happening. I just updated robmccallumfilms.com with a new update about everything that's been happening in the last month and what we're doing going forward. We've cut concerts for Lil Wayne. We have some other concerts that we're going to be doing multicam edits of. Kitty Origins Evolution drops March 30th. Order it through robmccallumfilms.com. Missing Mom now is on Amazon Prime in the US and the UK. We get a whopping 8 cents every time somebody watches it. But hey, share the link, and hopefully you can be part of the millions that can get exposure to this story that resonates with everybody. We've been brought on to do some authoring duties on another video game documentary called The Bits of Yesterday by Darren Peliquin. So we'll be responsible to handling all their Blu-ray and DVD authoring, which is cool. We were just at PitCon and SLAS, which are 2 scientific trade shows. So we're producing those videos for them. We have potentially another Kickstarter in the works in next month that we can talk about maybe a little bit more. And then, of course, Backed or Busted, our web series continues. The season finale for season 1 will be coming up as soon as I find the right campaign. I thought I had it worked out, but then I recorded and realized this wasn't a good enough campaign to cap off season 1. And of course, that builds and leads to our Backed or Busted Kickstarter workshop that's happening in London, Ontario, March 25th, 1 to 5 p.m. Get tickets on Eventbrite, either eventbrite.com or eventbrite.ca. Look for a Kickstarter masterclass with Rob McCallum. That, I think, does it. There's probably a few other things. Again, robmccallumfilms.com. Check out the news updates post. We just did a new one. You'll see more information there.
Because for you, there's not enough time in the day, especially being a new dad as well. So
there is that.
There is that as well. So it's definitely great to have you on, indeed. And Rob, it's always a pleasure to have you a part of the Cosmic Crossfire. See, you got me messing up again. Started it like that. Part of the Cosmic Crossfire.